The Knicks are insane. They shot exactly when they had to, and they defended even harder. That fourth quarter was where everything turned on its head. After trailing by 16, the Knicks flipped the entire pace of the game. As a team, they knocked down 12 of their 24 shots in the final 12 minutes, hitting at exactly 50% while holding Boston to an abysmal 5 for 25. That's 20% shooting in the fourth from a team that had been steamrolling earlier. Boston also missed all 9 of their three-point tries in that last quarter, which let New York erase a double-digit deficit in just minutes. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't pretty, but it was suffocating. Relentless team basketball. No team survives a 13-straight miss, stretch in crunch time, and comes out on top. But the Knicks made sure Boston paid for every one of those bricks. From a broader view, this game was a statistical pendulum swing. Early on, the Knicks looked lost. They trailed by 16 late in the first quarter and shot just 6 for 23 in the period. They missed their first 7 shots. They were down 20 at one point in the third, and yet they still clawed out a win. That speaks to how the defense locked in. They cut down the Celtics' second half field goal percentage to 33 and shut them down from beyond the arc, where they hit just 5 of 19 in the half. The Celtics, who started the game with 9 offensive rebounds, got smothered late. New York's defense in that last chunk was brutal. Hands and faces, active rotations, forcing Boston into isolation panic mode. Offensively, they didn't exactly explode, but they became efficient when it mattered. After starting 0 for 7, the team adjusted. They committed 8 turnovers in the first half, which led to 13 Boston points, but cut back significantly as the game progressed. Their own second chance opportunities were limited early, but the defense fed the offense late. That fourth quarter swing was entirely built on pressure, rebounds, and transition. They went on a 14-2 run in the final 9 minutes and changed the entire feel of the game. Now, on to the individuals. Karl Anthony Towns was the lifeline in the early going. Without him, the score would have gotten out of control. He finished with 21 points and 17 rebounds in 35 minutes. That's a double-double with interest. In the second quarter, he took Al Horford to the cleaners. 2 old-fashioned three-point plays and a quick blow-by for a bucket gave the Knicks their first real signs of life. He scored 8 straight points to chop Boston's lead to 5. By halftime, he had 14 points and 10 boards on 6 for 11 shooting. It wasn't just scoring. He battled for rebounds constantly, holding the paint down while the rest of the team struggled. Josh Hart did the most efficient scoring of the night, 23 points on 9 for 15 from the field. He only grabbed 6 rebounds and passed for 3 assists, but he made every shot count. He was the one guy who found his spots and picked Boston apart. In the first half, when the Knicks needed to claw back, Hart poured in 6 straight to close the second quarter. His lone three-pointer came at a crucial time, and he stayed active through every possession. He didn't force shots and didn't try to do too much. That efficiency was exactly what the team needed. By the way, if you guys enjoy these deep dives, I'll be posting every day during this playoffs. I genuinely appreciate if you could subscribe. Thanks. Anyways, the Knicks. Jalen Brunson's night was rough, and the stat sheet confirms it. He had 17 points on 6 for 19 shooting. That's not the type of line that gets framed on a wall, but it's not just about volume. He added 7 assists, grabbed 3 rebounds, and hit the late free throws that flipped the score one final time. Still, he was a -1 overall, and early on, he looked lost. He missed his first 5 shots and didn't score until 16 seconds remained in the first quarter. By the half, he was 3 for 10 and had 2 assists with 2 turnovers, but he came through in the fourth. He dropped a fadeaway for the lead, then hit 2 clutch free throws with 13 seconds left. He kept his poise when it counted, even if the rest of the game was a struggle. Bridges might have written the weirdest box score of the night. He was invisible for 3 quarters, scoreless through 36 minutes, and missed his first 8 shots. But then, like a switch flipped, he caught fire. He scored 7 early in the fourth and finished with 14 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, and 2 turnovers. His shooting line was 6 for 18, and he was a -6 overall, but none of that mattered by the end. He made the final defensive play of the night, ripping the ball away from Tatum to seal it. That single stop erased 3 quarters of silence. He showed up when it was time to make a difference, and he did it with force. Mitchell Robinson had a strong impact off the bench. He played 22 minutes and racked up 6 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 steals. He was also a +19, the highest on the team. He had a big second quarter stint where he tallied 4 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 steals in just 8 minutes. That stretch slowed down Boston's rhythm. Even when he got pulled after a hack of Robinson sequence, his time on the floor brought stability. He was tough on the glass and even tougher guarding inside. OG had a quieter game. His most memorable moment, a dunk through Derek White, got called back for an offensive foul. That would have cut the lead to 7 in the third, but instead it fueled Boston's run. He went scoreless in the first quarter and had a rough shooting start overall. His role was more defensive, but the stat sheet didn't shine for him. Team-wide, the shooting problems were consistent early. In the first quarter, they missed their first 7 shots and only hit 2 of their first 16. They made just 6 total field goals in the opening 12 minutes and shot 0 for 3 from beyond the arc, though OG had 1 taken off the board after a review. They were down 16-4 late in that quarter. The rhythm wasn't there. Brunson was cold, Bridges was colder, and the whole unit was trying to find any kind of foothold. Boston opened the game just as badly, starting 2 for 11 and missing their first 4 3-pointers, but New York didn't take advantage. By the end of the first quarter, the Knicks had more missed shots than points. The second quarter saw a shift. Towns took over, and Robinson's energy helped spark a mini run, but every time they got close, sloppy turnovers or second chance points would push Boston right back out. In the first half alone, the Knicks gave up 15 second chance points off 9 Boston offensive rebounds. Their 8 turnovers became 13 more Boston points, but they kept within reach by closing the half on an 11-4 push. Hart was active in that stretch, and Towns was consistent. In the third quarter, Boston looked ready to pull away again. They led by 20 at one point, and New York looked flat. OG's called back dunk led directly into an 11-2 Boston run. But right at the end of the third, New York flipped a switch. They answered with an 8-0 run, which ended up being the start of a much larger turnaround. That fourth quarter was full-on domination. Boston missed 13 straight field goals during one stretch. They went 8 minutes and 21 seconds without a bucket before Tatum finally dunked on a coast-to-coast drive. But by then, the damage was done. The Knicks had already stolen the lead. Brunson and Towns both hit timely shots, and then Bridges slammed the door shut. The final team stats don't scream blowout, but they do scream resilience. The Knicks were better in the moments that mattered. They adjusted after an awful start, made life miserable for Boston in the second half, and rode a mix of efficient scoring and overwhelming defense to seal the win. The fact that every starter had a negative plus-minus except Robinson, who came off the bench, tells you how chaotic the game was. But it was enough. 2-0 in the series, and this one came from grit, stats, and fourth quarter execution. But then let's talk about Game 1. They were down by 20, and it looked like Boston was about to walk away with a laugher, but the Knicks didn't care about anyone's script. Over the final 22 minutes, in 30 seconds of regulation and overtime, they flipped the entire game. They outscored the Celtics 53-30 during that stretch. That included a 20-9 run just to close the third quarter. And the run didn't just get them close, it turned the game upside down. It became the largest playoff comeback by the Knicks since 2022, and the biggest ever pulled off against Boston in their playoff history. That's not just good, that's flat out rude. As a team, New York was relentless in the way they attacked Boston's weak spots. The Celtics leaned all the way into their outside shooting, and it torched their own chances. 63-point attempts, 45 misses. That's not just bad, it's a league record. Most ever attempted and most ever missed in a playoff game. That is how you watch a win float away one bad shot at a time. Boston's second half and overtime offense, a total surrender to the long ball. Out of 49 shot attempts in that stretch, 37 were threes. That's more than 75% of their offense coming from deep, and it cost them. The Knicks were happy to let them shoot themselves out of the building. New York's defense was a full-time problem. They turned up the heat, and Boston never recovered. They forced 14 turnovers total, including 6 in the fourth quarter and overtime alone. They kept Boston to 35.1% from the field after halftime, and the individual moments, like OG's deflection that tied the game or Bridges' final steal, were backed by team-wide pressure that broke the Celtics down. They switched aggressively, closed out on every shooter, and lived in the passing lanes. Tatum had to throw up 14 off the dribble threes. He missed 11 of them. That's not a fluke. That's defensive exhaustion. The Knicks didn't just stop Boston. They scored in all the right spots. They were precise when it counted. Their three-point shooting was sharp, 45.9% on the night. 17 makes on 37 attempts. That includes a ridiculous 7 for 11 from the corners, where Boston never rotated fast enough. OG hit 6 of 11 from deep himself, including 2 massive ones in overtime. 1 from the corner, 1 with contact, turned into a 3-point play. And the paint? Boston had no rim protection once Porzingis left after 13 minutes with illness. The Knicks poured in 42 paint points, exploiting every soft spot. In overtime, they were calm and controlled. They scored 8 points, all from OG and Bridges, and allowed only 2 made shots by Boston on 8 attempts. The game closed on defense, not desperation. Now let's dig into what the individual players did to get them there. OG had his fingerprints all over this win. He dropped 29 points, hit 6 of 11 from deep, and made some of the most important shots of the night. His offensive presence stretched Boston out, but it wasn't just the scoring. He made critical defensive reads too. His fourth quarter deflection of a pass from Tatum directly led to a transition dunk that tied the game at 86. And his presence in overtime was massive. A corner three to open OT scoring, followed by an and one dunk. He was relentless and efficient. His game score was 19.9, the highest of the night. Jalen Brunson matched OG with 29 points of his own. He was the stabilizer late in the game, not only hitting big shots, but creating space with every possession. He was efficient with his movement, and his decision-making helped stretch Boston's defense. He also facilitated well, helping keep the offense flowing during that 20-point comeback. His game score was 17.6, second highest on the team. His leadership and tempo control helped avoid panic when they fell behind by 20. Bridges finished it with 1 second left in overtime. Boston had a chance to tie it up with a three. Brown had the ball, and then he didn't. Bridges swiped it clean to end the game. That moment was the perfect summary of his role. He was all over the court defensively. His intensity ramped up late, and his 8 overtime points helped lock down the win. He didn't just show up, he finished what everyone else built. Mitchell Robinson did the dirty work. He logged a plus 13 in his minutes and was a defensive wall during the most important stretches. Late in regulation, when Thibodeau subbed out Towns and Brunson for defense, it was Robinson who switched onto Tatum and forced a missed step-back three. That moment defined the way he contributed. No highlight play, just smart positioning and hard contests. He helped clog the paint, especially with Porzingis out, and cleaned up mistakes all night. Karl Anthony Towns added muscle when it mattered. He finished at a plus 8 and helped keep the offense alive through the first half. While he didn't have a standout scoring game like Brunson or OG, he played an important spacing role. His presence drew defenders and allowed New York to work the ball to open shooters in the corners. Towns was solid in those early moments when the Celtics were still threatening to bury the game. Tom Thibodeau made some bold lineup calls late, subbing out 2 offensive engines, Brunson and Towns, for defensive assignments in crunch time showed how much he trusted the bench to close it. The decision to go with Mitchell Robinson in that late stretch was the right one. The result? Boston's star had to take a step-back three over Robinson's length to try and win it. He missed, and the Knicks survived. Those small coaching decisions don't always show up in the box score, but in this one, they were the difference. As a team, the Knicks were excellent in their adjustments. That 35 net rating they posted across the fourth quarter and overtime wasn't just a blip. It was built from tighter rotations, smarter ball movement, and pure hustle. The contrast was sharp. Boston posted a negative 29.4 net rating in the same stretch. That swing tells you everything about the game's momentum. One team took control, the other panicked. Even under pressure, the Knicks executed. In clutch time, those final 5 minutes of regulation and overtime, when the score was within 5 either way, they shot 50% from the field. The Celtics, just 28.6%. Again, not close. The Knicks also showed that when they're moving the ball and hitting shots, they can be nearly impossible to stop. Their execution on corner threes was elite. 7 for 11 from those spots means they were taking the right shots from the right players in the right moments. That kind of number doesn't happen by accident. It means they were finding the weak spots and exploiting them. Boston's inefficiency wasn't just bad luck. Tatum and Brown together went 5 for 25 from deep. That's 20%. Tatum alone missed 11 off the dribble threes. The Knicks were forcing tough shots every possession, and they were closing out hard. Boston fell into the trap of over-relying on long-range shooting, and the Knicks kept baiting them into it. It's hard to win a playoff game when your opponent is swarming every possession, switching everything, and shutting off every clean look. And it's even harder when they're scoring 42 in the paint, hitting threes at nearly 50%, and clamping down in overtime like their lives depend on it. Porzingis being out for most of the game certainly helped New York get easier looks at the rim. Without his presence, the Celtics had no consistent rim deterrent, and the Knicks walked into the paint repeatedly. They didn't waste those chances either. 42 paint points show they knew exactly where the gaps were. The Knicks did it with defense, timing, and pure will. They won because they played better basketball when it counted. The numbers back it all up. They were better from deep, better in the clutch, better on defense, and smarter with their possession. It was a game where they gave themselves every chance to come back, and when Boston handed them the opportunity, they took it with both hands and didn't let go. The Knicks haven't just been good in the fourth quarter during the playoffs, they've treated the final 12 minutes like it's the only part of the game that mattered. No team has made fourth quarters this dramatic this efficient or this consistently one-sided. From elite shot making to surgical defense, they've turned what should be the most chaotic part of a playoff game into their personal playground, and the numbers are completely on their side. Let's start with the headline stat. They're the first team in playoff history to overcome 20-point deficits in back-to-back games. That's not folklore, that's data. Game 1 saw them down by 20 and still finding a way to win in overtime. Game 2, another 20-point deficit erased, this time by outscoring Boston 38-17 down the stretch. That's a 71-47 scoring margin in 2 fourth quarters against the second seed in the East. That's not a comeback story, it's a pattern. Their overall fourth quarter net rating across the postseason is plus 35. That's the highest among all playoff teams. In case that doesn't scream dominance loudly enough, here's more. They've turned the fourth into their most efficient quarter offensively and their most suffocating defensively. Opponents aren't just falling apart, they're getting dragged down by a Knicks team that's saving its best basketball for last. Offensively, the Knicks are averaging 26.8 points in the fourth, exactly matching their regular season average, where they ranked first in the league. That consistency under pressure is absurd, and leading the charge is Jalen Brunson, who's been on an individual mission of late game destruction. Through 7 playoff games, Brunson has dropped 77 fourth quarter points. That's 11 per game, while shooting 50.9% from the field and 46.2% from deep. Only 2 other players in the last 25 years have managed 75 or more fourth quarter points through their first 7 playoff games: Kobe Bryant and Steph Curry. So yes, Brunson is sitting at the same statistical table as 2 generational legends, and he's doing it with unbelievable efficiency. His clutch time true shooting percentage sits at 64.3, which is 4th among all guards in the postseason. It's hard to top that, but Brunson's isolation scoring numbers in the fourth are borderline unfair. He's scoring at a rate of 1.267 points per chance. Defenses are throwing everything at him, and he's answering with clinical precision. But it's not just the offense that flips the game. The Knicks are holding opponents to 28.6% from the field in clutch time. That includes Boston's 5 for 24 meltdown in the fourth quarter of Game 2. Those are the kinds of numbers that shut the door. And from behind the arc, opposing teams are completely locked out, just 25% shooting in fourth quarters against the Knicks. The Celtics alone went 10 for 40 in Game 2's final frame and 15 for 60 in Game 1. When it's time to hit a big shot against New York, nobody is hitting anything. Bridges has been the dagger man, twice sealing wins with clutch defensive plays. In Game 1, it was a strip on Jaylen Brown with 1 second left in overtime. In Game 2, it was a game-saving block on Jason Tatum's final drive. His anticipation and timing on both plays turned near disaster into victories. Defensively, his presence in the fourth quarter has changed everything. Bridges rotates, switches, and clamps down exactly when the team needs him to. OG is another fourth quarter wall. His deflection rate, 3.4 per game, has directly impacted New York's ability to shut down Boston late. In Game 1, his fourth quarter deflection led to a transition dunk that tied the game. In clutch time, his on-off numbers are some of the best on the roster. The Knicks allow 8.2 fewer points per 100 possessions in the fourth when OG is on the floor. He's a defensive anchor, especially in those final chaotic minutes. The lineup that Thibodeau leans on in the fourth, Brunson, Bridges, OG, Hart, and Towns, has a plus 24.3 net rating in the playoffs. That's not just a good 5-man unit. That's a championship-level unit. And when Thibodeau needs defense late, he's not afraid to yank Towns and Brunson in favor of Mitchell Robinson. That kind of switch paid off in Game 1 when Robinson forced Tatum into a long step-back 3 that didn't come close. This flexibility is critical because the Knicks don't just hope fourth quarters go well, they force them to. That's why their scoring efficiency ranks number 1 among playoff teams at 1.231 points per scoring chance. That includes a brutal pace in isolation plays, especially when Brunson is cooking. And from a shooting efficiency standpoint, the Knicks have been lethal, 48.2% on 2-pointers and 38.1% from beyond the arc in fourth quarters. The corner threes have been backbreaking. In Game 1 alone, they hit 7 out of 11 from the corners in the fourth and overtime. That's 63.6%. These aren't chuck and pray shots. These are the result of constant movement, spacing, and smart passing under pressure. This team knows where the open looks are, and they get them consistently. Turnovers? They're forcing them at a high clip and converting them into easy points. In the second half and overtime of Game 1, they forced 14 Boston turnovers and scored 18 transition points directly off them. That's how you flip a scoreboard. That's how you crush a lead without relying on threes alone. The rebounding numbers don't lag behind either. The Knicks are averaging 41.3 total rebounds per game, with 30.4 coming on the defensive end. That's number one in the playoffs. Late game rebounding is the difference between giving up a second chance and sealing a possession. And they're sealing them again and again. And all of this isn't just happening in a vacuum. It's happening under pressure. In the most important part of the game, against elite competition. Fourth quarters in the playoffs are usually a mess. Fatigue sets in. Defenses lock up. Offenses get hesitant. Not this team. The Knicks look sharper as the game wears on. They're not escaping fourth quarters. They're dominating them. Even the advanced stats back it. Brunson's game score across these fourth quarters is rising each game. Towns, while inconsistent overall, has had his best moments late. Bridges is one of the top defenders in crunch time possessions per tracking data. And Hart, he's doing a little bit of everything. Scoring when needed, rebounding hard, and making smart switches. No other team in the playoffs is putting together this level of consistent dominance in the final frame. The Knicks have turned it into a winning formula. Play steady through the first 36, and then unleash chaos and discipline in equal measure in the last 12. This team's fourth quarter identity is clear. They're the closer. They walk into the last chunk of the game with absolute belief, and they've earned that. Through cold shooting nights, massive deficits, and overtime drama, they've shown one simple truth. If the game's still close, it's theirs to take. And so far, that's exactly what they've done. And the guy that's carrying them, Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson is not just having a strong playoff run. He's launching one of the most statistically rich, workload-heavy, fourth-quarter dominant playoff campaigns the league has seen in a decade. The Knicks don't just revolve around him right now. They practically cling to him for dear life in every high-leverage moment. Through 7 playoff games, he's delivering numbers that put him in company with legends while dragging a short-handed roster into must-win moments with nothing but grit, balance, and a terrifying clutch gene. Brunson is averaging 29 points per game, which puts him second among all playoff scorers. That alone should raise eyebrows, but then look at the volume. He's taking nearly 25 shots a night and somehow still hitting 43% of them. He's also shooting 37% from deep on over 7 attempts per game, and he's converting over 82% from the free throw line. Add in 7.7 assists a night, top 5 among all players. And you realize this isn't some one-dimensional scorer. He's running the entire show for 40 minutes a game. Let's pause on that. 40.4 minutes per game. That's third most in the playoffs. The man's barely sitting. Thibodeau is gluing him to the floor because he knows the drop-off when Brunson sits is catastrophic. The Knicks are plus 21 with Brunson on the floor and significantly less organized without him. Their net rating with him, plus 8.3. Without him, a confused shrug and a lot of forced jumpers. He's not just scoring, he's playmaking. The assist-to-turnover ratio is nearly 3-1, 54 assists to 20 turnovers. That's elite, especially for a player whose usage rate is sitting around 35%, which is top 3 in the playoffs. Every single offensive possession flows through him, and still, the ball security is this strong. Brunson is shouldering volume that normally causes other players to crack. Instead, he's using it as fuel. Even under consistent pressure, he's producing. He's facing double teams on 38% of his possessions, the most of any player in the postseason, and he's still maintaining high-level shot making and ball distribution. That's not supposed to happen. Defenses are targeting him on every trip, and he's calmly navigating through traps, hedges, and switches with the patience of someone playing chess against checkers. And when the game hits the fourth quarter, he's putting it on ice. Brunson leads the entire playoffs in fourth quarter scoring, averaging 11 points per final frame. That's not a typo. 11 points in the fourth quarter, every night. He's doing it on over 50% shooting from the field and 46.2% from 3. He's not just scoring, he's burning down leads, lighting up elite defenses, and closing out games like it's his full-time job. And in the process, he's become just the third player in 25 years to notch at least 75 fourth quarter points in the first 7 games of a postseason. The other two, Kobe Bryant in 2008 and Steph Curry in 2023. You don't end up in that company by accident. Against the Celtics in Game 1, he rattled off 11 straight points in the fourth to cut down a 20-point lead. In Game 6 against Detroit, he dropped 40, including the game winner with 4.3 seconds left. And in Game 2 against Boston, even on a night when his shot wasn't falling early, he still sank the free throws that clinched it. Every clutch moment, he's front and center. In clutch time minutes, last 5 minutes of a game within 5 points, he's shooting 51.5% from the field and 84% from the line. That's where most guys get tight. He just keeps scoring. But this isn't just a highlight reel. The advanced stats build an even clearer picture. His true shooting percentage sits at 54.8, which is actually better than expected, considering the absurd defensive attention he's drawing. He's not getting many easy looks. This isn't catch and shoot stuff. These are contested step backs, floaters in traffic, and threes off the dribble with hands in his face. His efficiency isn't dipping from sheer overuse either. He's found ways to stay effective, even when his legs should be giving out. In the fourth quarter and clutch minutes, his numbers actually go up. His shot selection tightens, his handle sharpens, and his decisions get faster. It's like he's pacing himself through the first 3 quarters just to explode when it matters most. And he's doing all this while being the only consistent engine on a Knicks team that's banged up and scrambling. At times, Porzingis barely played in Game 1, Towns has had up and down stretches, Bridges didn't score for 3 quarters in Game 2. Yet somehow, Brunson keeps everything functioning. He's the organizer, he's the bucket getter, he's the closer, he's the contingency plan. The big moments keep stacking. In Game 1 against Boston, he had 29 points, 11 of them in the fourth quarter, and forced overtime with a gutsy performance, even after missing the potential winner. In Game 2, he had 17 points and 7 assists. He only shot 6 for 19, but he showed up in the closing moments, again nailing free throws that sealed the win. The volume scoring is notable, but so are the playoff career highs. 40 points in Game 6 against Detroit, 11 assists in Game 4 of the same series, 44 minutes played in Game 1 against Boston. These are not empty numbers. These are heavy lift performances in pressure situations. He's also the only player in the 2025 playoffs with multiple games of 35 points and 5 assists. That level of production and control is incredibly rare. The last Knick to average 30 or more points through at least 7 playoff games, Bernard King, all the way back in 1984. That's how far back you have to go to find this level of offensive consistency in a New York uniform. He's the focal point of everything the Knicks want to do. They're not a run and gun team. They rely on Brunson to operate in the half court, manipulate defenses, create spacing, and dictate tempo. He's executing that job under playoff intensity while rarely sitting and almost never getting help from the whistle or from elite spacing. And yet, here they are, up 2 games to none in the second round. Of course, there have been hiccups. Brunson struggled in overtime of Game 1, missing all 4 of his shots. And against elite defenses, his efficiency has dipped at times. He shot 39% in Game 1 versus Boston and just 25% in Game 3 against Detroit. But even when he struggles with his shot, he finds ways to contribute. He keeps the ball moving. He takes care of it. He gets to the line. He doesn't stop making plays. His value to the team is total. Without him on the floor, the Knicks collapse offensively. Their pace slows, the ball sticks, and the shot quality nosedive. With him, every possession has purpose. Every screen has a target. Every ISO has a reason. This playoff run is becoming a masterclass in how to carry a team through sheer will, control, and timing. Brunson's not flashy. He's not talking trash. He's just quietly tearing teams apart in the most efficient way possible. Whether it's slicing through defenses in isolation, punishing switches, running the pick and roll, or drilling threes in crunch time, he's doing it with surgical accuracy. And he's not slowing down. The deeper the Knicks go, the more central he becomes. Every scouting report starts with him. Every defensive scheme is designed to slow him. And every fourth quarter so far, it hasn't mattered. Brunson is on pace to have one of the most impactful playoff runs in recent Knicks history. Not just for the numbers, but for how essential he's been to every win. He's doing everything. And somehow, with all the pressure, all the minutes, and all the traps, he just keeps getting better. If you guys enjoyed this, I'll be posting every day during this playoff. I genuinely appreciate if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching.